Hello everyone, Guyan here, and I'm showing you a very dry dev dive today. But I love it. I love it. Actually, I'm on the wrong page. Um, I wanted to show you about documentation and just data access, information access. This is something I hold very dear to me. I'm not a producer by trade, but it's highly, highly desired by producers. But me doing direction, it's pretty damn important as well. And that's the passage of information. Um, so I love documentation, being a self-taught developer and designer and programmer and all that stuff. Um, my entire learning structure is there's information out there, access it and learn, right? And so, in doing so, I've grown a huge appreciation for the information bases that have an enormity of detail and clarity and the information that you want to access. Of course, that comes with a great effort and a high priority to whomever is facilitating those kinds of documentations. But that's something to really consider is people won't use your documentation if it's not um, useful. To put it in the most simplest of terms. Um, and so then, how do you make it useful and stuff? And I'm no master, but I wanted to just talk about my entire process in this, having just gone from I have information in my mind and I'm alone to hey, I have a team and now I need to have that information out of my mind. There is so much to touch on. So, um, I'm just going to kind of go at it and kind of just articulate the space of why I was thinking these things and why I think they're valuable. So first and foremost, I started. This is with Confluence. There's many other services. Monday, ClickUp. Um, I think there's a few other ones that I've heard of. But in this particular service, it is pretty well only documentation. The structure of this is that there's pages, and within page, Notion is another one. Within pages, there's other pages, and within those pages, there's other pages, and you're kind of trying to organize your information in a table of contents style way, where each content in the table is essentially a page. Of course, within the sections, you can have titles and categories and organization and stuff like that. Um, but it is mostly just documentation. Other ones have task planning and stuff like that built into one thing, but this is an industry standard and I'm going with it for now. And that is the subject of our topic anyways. So very first and foremost, this is the home page, front page of Genome Studios Confluence. So this is top, tippy top of the umbrella. It is the person holding the blanket instead of the blanket itself. In this, I wanted to make a dash that kind of allows you to have a really quick overview of the important things that need to happen. So, just for the case of like people getting onboarded and people who are new, you get to learn about what we're about and, get introduced immediately to onboarding. But as you can see, I also have onboarding right here in the shortcuts as the most immediate thing to look at. And it's like, hey, guess what? Onboarding is pretty important. Let's not lose it or let it fall out of uh, date. Um, Next, projects. Now I'm linking to all the projects. Hey, look, they're all purple. Hey, that looks nice. Guess what a project is? It's purple. um, and so then here, from this hub, if this were your home page, you could go to any of the projects and the documentations therein. I've got quick links to a bunch of other stuff. This is meant to be living documents. So of course, this dash is supposed to shift and change based off of the priorities and the insights we glean and stuff like that. People to harass, all that stuff. Recently update, blogs and posts and stuff. And of course, in the company, I have my company, I've got team, because I think those are kind of two separate things, because in the company, I've got the about, I've got services like GS Infinite, I've got operations. And so as you can see, things like version control and meeting reports and stuff like that are just part of operations, and they can just be nice in there. GS Infinite is, what is our roadmap? How are we scheduling this? What are the service platforms? How do we run the various things? Of course, as GS Infinite grows, it could become its own project and have its own accesses that allow people to know this stuff or be uh, non-authorized for it. Team, just rosters. I want to find people snacks and stuff, see what people's initiatives are, you know, community stuff, but within the company, and project overviews. So this is just, I haven't used it all too much. I may or may not keep it, but these overviews are just meant to summarize from an outside kind of view what's been going on, where we're headed, what's happening with these various projects, not to overrule the detail and the clarity within the projects, and then just some guides, because I figure might as well have them at the absolute top, and so long as they're not explicitly for one specific project, put tons. So here we go. Very first thing, hey, you've been hired. Hey, let's onboard. So you click on onboarding, and hey, we've just got a bunch of information, just facts style. It's in the guides here, and it's just like, hey, check out how to use the Confluence. Basically, what I'm showing you in this thing, I made a guide, a video guide, just literally articulating these same things. Did you get an email? Do you have access to the projects? Are you an engineer? Blah, 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 right? But then, hey, access to information. Look, there's links to everything. There's tags to people. There's links to destinations. There's information being stored. Say we're starting some people's kids today. It's like, oh, hey, look, it turns out there's SPK onboarding. And it's taken us into the Some People's Kids section, into the onboarding, and we have all of our access to Some People's Kids stuff. Look here, we've got the onboarding right quick, and then we've got a link back up to Genome Hub so that we can get in and out of all of that stuff really quickly. Notice that Some People's Kids also has their own hub with their recently updated specifically to Some People's Kids stuff. It's got our quick links. This is where you'd have team goals, project things, interesting updates or whatever we need to have that is relevant to projects, some people's worlds, some people's kids comics, some people's kids animated, the narrative structure that presides over all of the IP. I want to make a brand manifesto that we can adhere to when representing them in different mediums, products, designs, formats, etc. And guess what? You can just zoom around. We have shortcuts to stuff. Of course, we'd have shortcuts to all sorts of project details. Oh, what does the toy box mini games mean? Traffic terror, all this stuff. Oh, don't want to be in Some People's Kids? Come back out. So as you can see, like a lot of the intention behind this is to keep you, only a couple steps away from important information. So, the further deeper in you go into details and into tangents of stuff, there should be threads out here on the easy to access side that points into those really necessary spots. Now, there's something to be said about organizing and stuff like that. The most dominant one I've been working on is Play Framework. We've got goals. We've got a recently updated. We've got quick links that are pretty important. But then, yeah, we're trying to like articulate, the Play Framework. These are like the firm details of it. And because this is built on a Unity thing, I've just built out my framework conceptually. And we're now introducing this Unreal section, and we're going to start in relating what we build up in this Unreal section into the framework documentation, right? So all of this stuff is going to evolve and be changed and be removed and stuff, but the necessity is that they're in the right place for now. You go into the GS base, and these has all the base elements we need for any game to exist. And then, these other features are other pieces, and we'll slowly start completing them as we're trying to satisfy the GS Play production goals. These are what we're kind of aiming to do. Of course, if you know anything about documentation, it gets made once and never gets looked at again. But of course, part of this is that we're trying to find the right documentation and the right information. So play production goals as a section for information might only be serviced as, kind of this upper level thing just with a cute couple notes. But then you start seeing, well, within that we have engine selection, and whenever we want to do production goal based planning and plotting and studies and research, well, hey, we can put that in production goals because this is more objective and intent based, whereas the play framework is just the detail of the tools. So as you can see, this is being serviced or being maintained in a way that allows it to best serve the intention of building these play frameworks. And as you can see, there's nothing to do with accounts or marketing or anything, because of course, this is a tool set meant to serve the rest of the company. And so then, because GS Play Framework is the framework that we're using for our projects, I have links to those so that when you're testing the Play framework and you need to check out what this project needs to be accomplishing in their feature, whatever, you can hop in. If you can't get back very easily, you go back to Genome Hub, Genome Play Framework, and now you're back to where you wanted to be. So, in all of this, I started making a little guide on the etiquette, I guess, if you will, of documentation successfully. And it's because I kind of wrote starting documentation successfully. So it's like, even when you're throwing down these kind of, precursor things, how do you do it so that it's a little bit helpful? And so, like I just said, organization, where in the wiki is it? But as you can see, it's like where in the spaces, the different categorical sections of the projects, and then what substance does this document have that would identify it to be part of the operations of Genome Studios or part of the brand manifesto of some people's kids, right? There's all sorts of reasonings behind stuff. Like narrative doesn't necessarily have to adhere with logos and visual branding and stuff. But the brand manifesto can refer to narrative plots, having trouble, battling tough stains, then put two of the characters that are rivals against each other, right? Like, and that's how we should be plotting out the organization of the page. Now, look, see, I just went back to the hub. I'm not using back because I'm trying to hide my browser stuff. Starting documentation successful. So then hierarchy, headers precede text, images precede the text, arrange them in a way that you get from the simple to the complex. So organization is the first thing. Where do you click the add new page? So then that's the simplest beginning start thing. Hierarchy, that's a good next thing. Show don't tell, this reinforces what this is saying in hierarchy. It's talking about images. Well, show don't tell is only about images. Use pictures, GIFs, videos, storyboards, collages. The more you can show, the easier the words come through. So now this is a more complex detail of what's being kind of espoused in hierarchy. Use the space. This is where I was using my dashboard style from this. Use the full wide space. Or big tables. This was a great one. Engine feature comparison report. Look at how big that table is, and wow, the information we've got. And we've even got, we're talking about the matrix criteria of, these guys on the top versus the features on the side. Ooh, it's so good. And we find ourselves in GS Play, so we just click Hub, and now we're going to go to Guides. Oops, I misclicked. Too many clicks. See, I need to fix this. starting documentation successfully, right? Like this should be probably up on the thing. Um, or on onboarding, I guess I could probably do. Uh, are you familiar with our documentation practices? See, look, we find ourselves stumbling to this page from very, very, very many places. Um, uh, so when do you use child pages? Consider if you need a section. I mean, I didn't write it here, but another example is like when you want it to be visible on the hierarchy that there's more details to something like a roster, sometimes you just put one page under it so that it looks like, okay, this is a more significant one that may have a total upper part and then, later pages and stuff. That can be a bit of a cue that there's a deeper bit of information to the thing. And then link it, link it, link it. Flow of information is absolutely critical. This is how you navigate. Let's navigate. Let's make documentation easy to read. Um, have everything you need close by. See, look, do you want to onboard for SPK? Do you want to onboard for AG? Do you want to onboard for DL? Do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to just check out the space? Do you want to look at the overviews? You know, anytime you can link to stuff. Um, hell, I've been just absolutely loving going to the GS Play framework because I'm talking about complicated things. So it's like, we're doing engine selection. So then it's like, okay, feature comparison report, and then these are issues and stuff like that. What's a better feature comparison? Well, this was the one that I showed with huge tables of stuff. Well, I mean, if you can see, almost every single page I have has links to something. It shows children. It has references or links to guides that kind of made this section a reason to have made it. Here we describe the patterns. We use nested things to say this is inside that, this is inside that. So we're trying to articulate the information clearly using links everywhere. I'm still not happy with because I did this one here. Here, list of features and sources. Look, there's less text than there is links. Look at all these. AI, okay, link, 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 link. Gas, I link to this, I want to take these out, but you click on the gas, and then it's like, oh, there's the course, and there's the, and it cookie, yeah, there's the course and the documentation, and then there's info, and then there's getting started. And it's like, if we want to start articulating what about the gameplay ability system we're using and what about we're not using, we can put this all here. And then you can always say, hey, you know what, gameplay ability system is being used in, oh man, I think my page is, oops. There we go. Confluence is having some trouble. Um, you can start articulating all of those things in the documentation in a clear and concise way. Well, I guess this kind of ends my dev dive because everything stopped loading now. But as you see, I'm right back to things. I've got links to Jira, I've got links to the Discord, I've got links to our Patreon. I'm putting those further into the socials, into the press. And again, duplication of links and linking press to socials, socials to press, press to Jira, or to these things to the press, marketing to the press and the socials, scheduling to the marketing. The further and more these tendrils span, the farther and deeper someone can get, easier and quicker with fewer jumps. To get to that information they need. So it's like, I'm Guy and I'm about to kick on a new comic for some people's kids to do a promo. So it's going to be a small gag. So it's like, hey, I'm at the homepage. I like to go to some people's kids because that's where all of that's going to be. This is a project for the comics, so I'm going to go into that, and hey, there's shorts. So I click here, and obviously this would be built up as we're building this. So there would be links to the shorts, there'd be links to the scripts, there'd be links to the ones that are in production, need to be made, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to work on that. Oh, I'm not particularly clear on what makes to like make the shots for the thing, because this particular short was a bit ambiguous. So then it's like you look at the narrative, and there'll be cues onto who the characters are and stuff for like facial expressions and stuff. But then you can go to the brand manifesto, and how do you do a successful comic style for the brand? Like, what is a good comic brand? And so then, well, hey, you've now reinforced this just by even looking at the hierarchy here. But ideally, shorts would have a thing that says, oh, this is an ambiguous script, refer to these. Because hey, when you put the script in, you knew it was ambiguous, hopefully. So let's do a little bit of extra. Don't just put the short in. Put the short with links, with references, with the status and all that stuff. Because guess what? We're looking at how best to use the hub for navigation, which is use links. How do we know that? Because when we do the documentation, we better have a title, we better have a categorical start, we better have, a video guide at the top. We better show a bunch of this stuff so that you know what a successful comic page looks like. Make sure that picture is huge and easy to tell, because you're using the space well. Use the child pages. So it's like, this is a profile on Hayes. This is a profile on Jory. This is a profile on Wolfgang. Time to do a huge profile for each character on one page each, and then link. Wolfgang is friends with Hayes, link, and Jory, link, and is enemies with so-and-so, link, and does this with these two, link, and, goes to this destination for fun, link. Guess what that destination is? Somewhere that someone articulated a document in, well, some people's kids in this particular example. And so I would do more. We'll see, show don't tell. Guides. Show don't tell says videos. And so I do guides. When I say use the Genome Hub for navigation, I'm literally doing a 7-minute guide that says, click here, do this, click these, click those. Here's how you get onboarded. Here's how to, like, first thing is, here's how to use it. Here's the link. They both go to the same place because, hey, if I don't want to click on this top link, I may want to click on this bottom link. Let's make it easy, right? So, of course, this could be a little bit tidier. You could have better spacing. You could have some pictures to break some of this up. I mean, I put this video just for fun, for friends. And all of this is meant to compound through small efforts, small organizational efforts, small hierarchical efforts in the page that are organizational, efforts to, add links, add videos, add GIFs, and stuff to, densify the substance of your documentation. And even when you are like me and you had to put 150 pages of documentation, all of them are blank. All of them are blank. All of them are blank. Weather manager, but it's in the nature system. Cinematics, timeline tools. Well, there's some stuff inside of it. That's because you can see the drop down. Oh yeah, we've got some. Oh yeah, they don't really have much of anything. But hey, they're organized. You can surmise from the title that this is a dialogue timeline thing within the timeline tools that has to do with cinematics. Like, all of this is already conveying information before you even get to the page, because it's organized, it's hierarchical, and, well, hierarchical meaning nested as well. And then, further from that, this is the puppet like total package, but I wanted to go, hey, we're going to talk about the puppet related to everything else. So I made one, and it says lightly extends these. This is depreciated because that's not the choice we're going with. And then, we're seeing how these things will be, references to old systems that do it. Well, here, look, talking about it in depth, where it came from, why we're doing it. This is the videos that show how it gets worked in detail and stuff. So let's replicate these videos to make this framework able to satisfy all these things. So I'm sure you've now heard it drilled in time and time again, but it's so important to have access to all of these things right off the bat, and kind of maintain it regularly. So, I mean, as we add more resources, I'm going to probably remove more of these because, again, we were filling this in when we were researching O3DE. But now that our play production goals have shifted, we've selected, oops, we've selected uh, Unreal Engine. So now get Unreal Editor ready for collaboration, start making the base features, start setting up Unreal Engine as the platform, with all of the features we need for our internal features. And then, well, here begins our first actual features within the framework. And so, hey, all of this has changed. I've put this version control link up here because now we have to work about repos. Here I'm referring to this initial play framework, which, hey, look, I actually made some of this page up because I linked to it in the front page. We've got the overview that talks about everything the play framework does. So I go into the history of the framework to show you, where it started and how it came to be. What was I looking at? So then that's getting our feature implementation. It's like, hey, let's look at the very top of it. And then here we're identifying the more sub-specific tasks. So, hey, earlier tasks, GS Enviro switch, it points here. And hey, I actually, because this one's a more relevant one, I saw references to similar functionality in a tutorial. I talk about the disparity between these two classes, how you use them and stuff like that. And then I start linking resources. I articulate this in features and sources. Just today, I broke features and sources into features and sources and and play framework in-house feature chart. Here I'm referring to state tree, which might be a next stage for all of this stuff. And, oh, hey, we could manipulate this other plugin as an alternative. So, hey, I'm literally in this guide just updating my documentation because, hey, this is a perfect time to update the documentation, right? So then, we've got these articulated and we don't quite have this here. But, hey, I realized that because this is a relevant thing and I refer to Enviro Switch, here, Enviro Activator, Enviro Switch, in the Play Framework info feature charts, I talk about GS Enviro Switch. Oh, see, I don't have activators here. So it's like, hey, I'm going to be neurotic because I just fucking love links. I love links. Enviro activators. Bang. Good. And so you don't want to necessarily accost your team with updates. Right now, it's just two of us and my teammate. I know that this is a throwaway email for them, but there's a nice little feature to not drive your team crazy, which is notify watchers via email. You can just turn that off when you update, so then it won't send an email. And then, hey, you want to know if someone's been keeping up to date with these these documentations and stuff. Sometimes it takes a refresh, which I'm going to have to do right here. And it's like, hey, recently updated by Guy and Helmers, the Play Framework page. I wonder what that is. That's a high-level page that talks about a lot of the Play Framework. Oh, hey, look, they added more links to Unreal features and sources, Unreal Market asset lists. Oh, hey, I haven't noticed this chart. And it's like, hey, in regards to abundance of information, you'd probably in your daily update on your reports, in Slack or whatever, you'd say, hey, change play features to the play framework page. And, again, you'd start looking around and make sure that, it's still relevant and stuff for people. Yes, there's times not to be changing this stuff, but hey, if you're looking at my content, you're probably a scrappy up-and-comer or someone who's just involved, enjoying the thrill of the startup kind of energy. And so the last thing you want is for this stuff to stagnate. If you find that there's sections, this engine selection is starting to become unnecessary. I could fill this in with highlights and lowlights and do these pros and cons and stuff, but we found that there's no real need to argue it anymore. So it's like, well, yeah, for completion's sake, you could complete this and archive it. I might just archive it or something like that. we have this engine feature comparison chart that has Unreal, Godot, CryEngine. So there's some value in this as like an archival. We spent time and energy making this data. And so I actually open things up to anyone's feedback on how to better archive and store this and keep relevancy to some of the more key pages like this one. Perhaps, hey, archive engine selection. Hey, look, let's try this. Archive engine selection. Warning. Section is archived. Relevant information beyond archival. K, and we're doing engine feature comparison report. And then we can add status and add custom status. I'd probably want to make a nice custom status that, oh, see, there's needs feedback. So then let's say archived. So there we go. Now it says archive engine selection. And if you want to know why we kept it, here we go. Section is archived, relevant information beyond archival, engine feature comparison report. Now I know. And in here I could go warning panel. I'm going to actually change this to a success panel, and we're going to say archived but relevant but valuable information. And then we can go to add status, and we can go archived and valuable, I guess. This is me experimenting on the fly. And so here we go. The parent is archived. This one's archived but valuable. I'm going to say archived by archive engine selection, but valuable information. See, and it's like, let's iterate, let's figure this out, let's try and make sure that there's good, see, now I know a decision's been made, this section's been archived, there's more relevant information maybe than just this one, so now we have that upper and lower handshake saying, hey, this is valid, this is not. If we wanted, we could, of course, update these wants and notes to archived, update, Open3 proofing pilot, and we can archive it. And so now we have the nice ability to do archived versus archived but and valuable if we wanted to somehow search those kinds of things. And, I may shift this to, resources and tools, let's say, because resources is just, don't you want to access information that we may want. So it's like, hey, I'm just doing this on the fly. Right now I don't have a huge team and stuff we can, but these will be the ways that you better harness the flow of information to better reinforce yourself and others as to the agenda, the flows, the decisions being made. So again, comparing that feature comparison. My teammate ended up authoring this, and then because this was such a valuable thing, as we kept researching, I kept adding to it as I found stuff. She kept adding stuff to it as she kept finding stuff. And that's the sign of a very well-functioning document, because it actually demands you take it and update it and do stuff to it, because wow, why wouldn't I reinforce what's in here already? So then it's like, play production goals, like some of these are more the beats, right? And those can stay kind of overall. They may not change much. Main path, that one's going to probably change a lot. We'll want to deepen this play production goals as we get further into actual production of the GS play rather than our exploration. And then, nice to have some extra stuff. History of framework, the project use, like what projects use what part of the framework and stuff, like nice little statistical things. So again, I'm drilling it over and over. Keep the information relevant, keep it strong, keep it within a few steps, make it easy to fumble into, and make sure that what gets fumbled into is accurate information so that when someone wants to know a character profile about Wolfgang, they're going to get who Wolfgang is, because it's not that it's like fill Wolfgang's information now. you know, Obviously within reason, there's always a time to do this, but hey, if you want my feedback, it's do it when you make the feature. So now that we're working on GS Play Framework, this is the most relevant and up-to-date one. Well, guess what? A lot of this stuff is relevant and up-to-date, and as I keep adding tasks, it's like, hey, guess what? GS inventory isn't very articulated, but the our feature chart is for it. Where is it? GS inventory. So now it's take this little concept and go into that GS inventory page that we've now returned to and make it dance and make it real, because when you have all of this stuff present, our GS item and GS world item inside. Fuck, I was looking for this reference and it wasn't giving it to me. Anyways, that now that I've built it up in the GS inventory system, well now, play framework. Now this section can have all of the links to the things. See, this says pieces, so on this blank side would be, every single piece that comprises GS inventory, from outside features like maybe this Lyra inventory set up, or our own GS items and stuff. Like every single facet of what makes the GS inventory here would be articulated at depth. What is stock currency? What is the world item? What are item components? What is pickupable? All of these things. You have a shorthand, you have the longhand, you have it upkept, you have them linking to each other, you have abundant links. Then you've got something good going. And hey, the nice thing is stopping to do some documentation allows you to digest what you just made and allows you to properly learn how to articulate what you're doing, because all of what we make gets exchanged between collaborators. Making an AI system requires designers to make individual AIs and stuff. So the better you can articulate, the better you can outline, the better you can show, not tell, will ultimately reap a huge reward for every new time that someone refers to it or you refer to it and the information is deepened. Because even if it's just you alone making this one feature, and no one in your team will really use it aside from you, if you leave and someone needs to come and take over, if you need to delegate it, and just again, your understanding of the feature itself is deepened. So then good plugins of how a designer can connect to it. The hurdles that you went over and the things that you accomplished by it. So like that is where documentation can get us all up to speed, so that when I go, oh, hey, what's going on with this destructible building thing? Well, guess what? The destructible building is described. What destruction happens is described. Where you can find information on destructibility can be found. GIFs for it in test, GIFs for it in tutorials. Everything could be about that. And again, reinforce the flow of information so that no one has to reinvent the wheel twice. No one has to plot out the same information twice. It should be here. It should only need to be rendered, if you will, refined from raw course data into that final once we're established with the play framework, this whole thing will look very different. It will have these hierarchies deep into the thing, and almost all of these will be links that will work to stuff. And, this is GS base summary. So then, we'd have the base hierarchy only within this summary, and then we'd have the GS world as another summary. And, all of this stuff can get better and better and better. But why not start on a good foot and improve than to constantly trash and delete and archive and start completely from scratch and stuff. Hierarchy, starting with an overview, getting into the features, then getting into literally links to the pages. No one wants to look at this first. Everyone wants to look into, this fun overview of stuff. So it's like, again, this chain of factors are a universal thing that can apply to a framework, tool set that we're building, that can apply to an entertainment media. It doesn't matter. Having quick access to, season one, the bad boys and stuff. Well, here, oh, Oh, see, I had it up here. See, I should propagate it more. Matching the GS play progress with some people's world conceptualization. Bad boys, narrative, core, the project itself. So in this project itself would be where, the core has all of the particular actual systems and details and designs, and this is the Bible. But here you've got season one, the bad boys, and that's agnostic of the game world. That's the first major plot arc. So season one is made out of core SPW, but core SPW doesn't necessarily need to have the season arc, because the core SPW is also a compilation of mini games and all that stuff. So then core SPW is the mechanics, the blah, blah, blah. The season one is the story. The toy box mini games are the mini games. And we have it, again, organized, hierarchical. There's environmental fun. We start with just overview, and then we start getting into the specific, what particular worldly funds there are with higher detail and stuff. Good. I know how to get started. I know how to pour in. Some people's kids onboarding would have instructions. Hey, want to work on some people's world? Hey, want to work on animations? Hey, want to work on comics? Well, so we begin that. So then it's like, hey, you start your onboarding. You learn the general company stuff. Then we need to know the some people's kids onboarding. So now we learn the some people's kids onboarding stuff. A better example would be like, hey, I want to do... look, onboarding. I found a different link to it. I'm an engineer. I'm going to do the GS Play onboarding. And it's like, hey, have you seen the video for the framework? Do you know the document hierarchy? Like, what are the big upper beats of what we're making? Like, GS cinematics is very clearly something to do with cinematics and stuff, right? So it's like, hey, we click on it and it's like, hey, here's the overview. Here's the hierarchy. If we wanted, we could get this link. So I'm going to get that link. And where's the onboarding? Right? Have you gotten to the document hierarchy? I'm going to edit this link. It's going to be the same page anyways, but with the hierarchy at the end. Do you know what the framework looks like? In this, I inject a subpage that shows the history of the framework in here. And so it's got the game videos. For some reason, this doesn't load all the time, but it should. And then talks about the present, talks about production goals on that page, and then ready to work. Well, hey, it's going to start showing all of the instructions on how to work. So, these are play production goals will probably also go in there. And this is how you install everything. We'll have a guide for how to do that stuff. And now you're off to the races. And so it's like, hey, you flowed from upper level concepts and just general company stuff, flowing in through, say, onboarding or through the general flow of navigation into your projects, into, look, largely on the back burner. Okay, now I know about that. And so then there you go. Here's cues on how to work, on what to do, and how to see things. And if you don't have those, everyone stops in their tracks. So heed these warnings. Hope that this gives you a cool overlook as to what we're doing, at least to start at Genome Studios. But I wanted to show organization of information firsthand, and how I'm using it and why I'm using it today. Um, yeah, so you expand the SPK series. Now we're just looking at the overview sections, so you can get into the specific niches, or we can also look at this restart SPK campaign, which is relative to expanding the series into comics, segments, and games. And so it's like, hey, we want to figure this out. Here's a rerun content cycle schedule, because SPK is going to have reruns running. So then, here's the rerun schedule. But hey, all that stuff is going to have relevance to our stuff. So yeah, no, thanks again for the millionth hour, for following along, checking this out, and I hope this gives you some good fuel for your own organizational fire. Get links to everything. Links, 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 links. See, in this page, I didn't need to do anything about it, so I just linked to the About GS page and injected this page. So it's like, even if it's redundant information, it's like it's better to access it by accident than to have nothing to access at all. So thanks for coming along, and let me know if you figure out any great patterns and methods within this to organize your stuff even better, because I want to know that too. I love documentation. Ah! Anyways, thanks. Bye.